Hello YouTube, it's Shadow Hero 90, welcoming you to the 5th season of Sexism in Movies and TV. Now, there are many reasons as to why I do this review show. One of which is the portrayal of men in the media is downright horrific. It's an insult. It's why most kids think their dads are idiots. But when it comes to women, they get the get out of horrible portrayal free card. And although I do review a lot of shows and movies that are aimed at a mature adult audience, most of what I review is aimed at a young audience. And yes, I kind of do blame shows like Adventure Time and Loud House and the bulk of what usually appears on this show as being the reason that teenage boys have such low self-esteem. Which is actually kind of true when you think about it from a psychological perspective. When every single portrayal, well, almost every single portrayal of men and boys on TV and in movies is negative, of course these teenage boys, when they first hit puberty, are going to have horrible self-esteem. So, in that regard, I know that I have a noble cause when I rip apart these televised pieces of shit. So anyways, on with the review. Let me just start this review off by saying I am not a fan of the original Thundercats. I did not watch it when they brought it back on Toonami in the late 90s. When they put Thundercats Roar on demand, I saw the first 2 episodes and I did not know where the insane level of hatred for this show was coming from. I saw 2 more episodes and I still couldn't understand where the hate was coming from. But then I saw the episode Warrior Maiden Invasion, and I kind of realized where the hate for the show might be coming from. It's different. In this episode, Tigra's just as stupid as anyone else, and in this episode, Wily Kit is Lion-O, and Wily Cat is Tigra. So the episode starts with the Thundercats playing hide-and-seek as a training exercise. And Wily Cat gets upset that his sister is essentially going around smashing things, giving away their position, and causing them to lose at hide and seek. He even says this will happen. A prediction that came true when they returned to the safe zone and all the adults made it past them because the Thunder Kittens accidentally had been given away because Wily Kit couldn't go 2 seconds without smashing something. Wily Kit is kind of berated by everyone for essentially smashing things, giving away their location, and causing them to fail. But since she's Lion-O in this episode, her stupidity is going to be the thing that saves the day. Then the warrior maidens show up and start terrorizing Third Earth. The warrior maidens reveal themselves as who they really are, and the thundercats see them. And within less than half a minute, Wily Kit is instantly fangirling over them. It becomes obvious that the warrior maidens are going to attack the Thunder Base, which they do again in less than a minute. Easily defeat the Thundercats, as well as wreck their base and throw them in the Thunder Brig, which, because Tigra's an idiot in this episode, he designed to nullify all their abilities because, well, in this episode he's just as stupid as everyone else. So anyways, the warrior maidens then go on to smash up the Thunder Base, and steal the Thunder Tank, taking it for a joyride. Wily Kit gets the idea to smash random things in their base and try to earn the warrior maidens. Cheetara notices the vent and that Wily Kit and Wily Cat could easily... And then they follow it up with a joke about Lion-O being an idiot, thinking the plan commences, but Tigress... Wily Cat devises an elaborate plan that could actually work if this episode was actually following any kind of logic, but Wily Kit hates it because, well, it doesn't involve smashing things, and that's what she enjoys doing. Wily Cat was able to tranquilize the warrior maidens and was about to deactivate the Thunder Brig, letting the Thundercats out, which mirrored them playing hide and seek as a training exercise. If this pile of shit actually was following any kind of logic, then that's what they would go with. Wily Kit and Wily Cat would use the skills they gained playing hide and seek to let the other Thundercats out, and then they'd all drive the warrior maidens off. But we don't get that. No, instead we find out that the warrior maidens are actually doing good, which is the most fucked up part of this episode. I mean, they spent the last 6 minutes establishing these cunts as villains. The reveal that the warrior maidens are actually good, and shit like the Mole Master being a dictator, them attacking Mumra's summer home, is not only a fuck you to all the little boys watching, but it's actually a fuck you to the original. And I now understand why there are a lot of Thundercats purists who are livid over this show's existence. So anyways, Wily Cat walks up to them and tries to address the situation with words, but the warrior maidens attack him. So anyways, since this is a hypocritical piece of garbage that solely exists to, get social brownie points, Wily Kit goes through on her plan, starts smashing things like crazy, and eventually earns the respect of the warrior maidens, doing so much damage that the Thundercats are let out of the Thunder Brig by accident. So anyways, Wily Kit makes friends with the warrior maidens, and then we get the backstory. Which, might I say before saying it, is unbelievably hypocritical. Not just for this show, but for any show to try and pull off and want their audience to think it's okay. The warrior maidens were the original heroes of Third Earth until they were defeated by Mumra. And, Lion-O does... And they believe him, but they assume Wily Kit is the team leader. When Lion-O points out that he is, they don't believe him. In the episode just ends with the warrior maidens being dicks to everyone else except Wily Kit. And then the warrior maidens are never seen again after this piece of shit episode. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. This piece of crap was essentially made to earn social brownie points from every pink or blue-haired feminist on the internet. That is something that's extremely hypocritical. Women go on and on about how the Disney princesses kill the self-esteem of little girls. Stuff like this kills the self-esteem of little boys. This piece of sexist garbage is unbelievably hypocritical. Remember last November when I attacked the episode Dragon Quest from My Little Pony? Here's kind of a good comparison to point out the level of hypocrisy in stuff like Warrior Maiden Invasion. Hypothetically, let's say that the people at Cartoon Network realized that DC Superhero Girls, a franchise that technically what you're seeing on screen is a reboot of the original that didn't even last a year. Let's say the people who are running Cartoon Network came to the realization that this franchise was a bad idea. So, in the final episode, as the means to end this abomination once and for all, the Earth is invaded by Darkseid. The DC Superhero Girls try to stop him, and they get their butts kicked. But then, essentially, the show introduces a version of the Justice League with the same member layout as that of the Batman. The Justice League tell the superhero girls to get bent and let them handle Darkseid, but they refuse, to the point where the Justice League essentially beats down and, well, not so much beats down, but restrains the superhero girls, defeat Darkseid, and have the superhero girls locked up on Stryker's Island. Either that or in Arkham Asylum. If Cartoon Network did that, the internet would go batshit and attack them. I guarantee you of that. Okay, let me just get this out of the way. I made that little comparison to point out the hypocrisy. But one thing that I should have honed in on is the fact that the warrior maidens are bullies. They broke into the Thundercats' lair, assaulted them, and locked them up, And it was only when Wily Kit went on a rampage and started breaking things randomly did they actually get respect for her. In all fairness, if these characters were male, they would have ended up getting beaten up by the Thundercats. At no point in Fairly Odd Parents was Francis ever meant to be sympathized with. He was a bully. At no point in any of Danny Phantom's 3 seasons, especially during its 3rd season, were we ever supposed to sympathize with Dash or think he was anything other than an asshole. Same thing goes for Brad from High School USA. Walt from Moral Oral. And the statement also applies to characters like Billy Loomer from Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide and Bull from My Gym Partner's a Monkey. As bad as those 2 shows were, they never once wanted you to view the bully with sympathy or think that these characters are in the moral right. I mean, for shit's sake, whenever they do this storyline, they basically tell kids that if you have a bully, you have to stand up to him. I guess unless that bully's a girl. Then they tell kids that she has every right to do whatever she wants to you, and you should not stand up for yourself, which is unbelievably hypocritical. I mean, this episode implies that if you have a female bully, you should let her walk all over you, 'cause she's probably a good person deep down. But in more classic shows, where the people behind them actually had brains, they usually made the bullies male and had the main character stand up to him. They probably should have made a few female bullies get stood up to, just to make sure that shit, because if they did, shit like this might not have ever happened. And I really gotta say, the people who wrote this, they should be ashamed of themselves. Joan Ford, I know you're probably not watching, but you should be ashamed for writing this piece of crap, you fucking bitch. Same goes for Angela Hatgaisuo. I probably butchered that, but Cartoon Network should fire these 2 clowns. Warrior Maiden Invasion is such a load of anti-male bullshit that I would rather watch the Saved by the Bell episodes, Jesse's Song and House Party, back to back over that piece of man-hating garbage. And now I'm just going to say it. I am done. The review is over.